Well, Viviane, it's so great to see you here and to have this dialogue between two friends. And I think, first of all, I was very touched and honored that you would invite me to come and do this dialogue with you. And what was kind of so interesting is that Viviane and we've known each other for 30 years, but we've had very parallel lives. So Viviane has been in politics. She has started as a journalist. She may not know that I also started as a journalist. I have, however, been in the private sector, in telecoms, in satellites, and starting Europe Online with Hubert Burda. And we have found throughout the years that we had these parallel lives that would cross at various intersections. And we wanted to share a little bit of that with you. But beforehand, because Viviane has spoken indeed about boys, 3 of which she has, who are just the most incredible young men that I know. So besides being a fantastic politician and fighter for human rights throughout the world, Viviane has 3 wonderful boys, one of which sent me some photos. Just two. Now, I mean, because really, Viviane is so beautiful, not only now, but when she was about 5, I guess.
I was scared. Look, I was scared.
Now, there is a very good reason why I'm showing this photo, because this is Christmas time. And so Viviane is visiting the Santa Claus, you know, I think in Luxembourg. I was visiting the Santa Claus that is on that kind of flying saucer on that tree when I was 5. Because 5 was when I was 1957, and it was the Sputnik. It was the year of the Sputnik, and my mother and father gave me Santa Claus in a Sputnik to put on the Christmas tree. And so our paths started at Christmas. I'm going to show one other photo. So, because, you know, it's important to know that we all, you know, we had long hair, we had fun, and once we grew up, then we were very fortunate to start to do kind of incredible things, certainly on Viviane's side. And Viviane, I mean, I think we wanted to kind of talk about some of the various sectors that we have worked in.
Mm-hmm. But what is interesting, that although Candace was never in politics, and I was never in business, in the end we happened to do exactly the same thing, and when one could not advance anymore in politics, the other was there so that business could help. And when one didn't make it anymore in businesses because there were too much barriers, the other one came and took away politically the barriers. So you see, we have always interfaced and worked hand in hand. We didn't need to speak a lot because we have exactly the same vision. And that made us come to the conclusion that no, the values haven't changed. But what has changed is the way in utilizing these values in order to put society forward. And what has changed also, that from a purely one-to-crowd system, the bilateral and the multilateral have grown, and multitasking is a women talent. And so the time today for women to do it better, to come in and to change things, couldn't be a better time in life, thanks to technology.
Yes. Actually, Viviane and I had a telephone conversation before this meeting today, and she was saying, you know, Candace, I think it's intuition and instinct. And I said, nope, it is object-oriented technology. And I really believe this, that women in the digital world, because here we are, you know, Maria and Steffi, we're here with this digital life design, we're here with the digital world, and women do have amazing talent to put together pockets of memory, pockets of bits and bytes, and to then connect them. And this is digital. This is digital thinking and everything. But before we got to that digital world, we had to break some barriers. And we had to break some monopolies. And it turns out, very funnily, exactly what, you know, Viviane was talking about, that where the private could go and then we couldn't go any further, then the public would come. And it turns out that both of us have been called enemy number one by the Deutsche Telekom.
So and here we are still alive.
But let me tell you, I mean, in 1992, when I was doing my bit, you know, I decided that the Deutsche Telekom, and talking this, you know, we were breaking monopolies because Viviane, 5 years after they had opened the German government had opened the competition to private telecom operators, 5 years afterwards, only 5% of the entire data market was done by private operators. And so, I mean, talk about also women on boards. So I said, this cannot be. And I took the Deutsche Telekom to court. I started the Association of Private Telecom Operators for illegal subsidy of data networks, and we won. And 10 years later,
10 years later, I made a European law breaking completely down the monopolies, and this law was challenged by the German government. So I brought the German government to court, to the European court, and I won. And since that moment on, the telecom market in Europe is opened. But why? Because you say Deutsche Telekom, we were enemy number one. You know what they understood after having lost twice against a woman? That they had to open to women. And then they opened their board to women. They were the first ones who really said, we want women quotas in Deutsche Telekom. That was our example, Candace.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end, they did kind of lovingly say enemy number one. So, but we also had to be called the most dangerous women in Europe. So, and here again, I'll take the lead on this. In 1992, 1994, I had started the Astra satellite because I had been inspired by that little Sputnik on my Christmas tree with Santa Claus inside. And a cartel of Mr. Murdoch, Mr. Berlusconi, and Mr. Kirsch decided they wanted to buy my satellite system. And had they done so, there would have been no more freedom of choice. It would not have been a gateway. They would have been gatekeepers. And the financial situation that was put to the board, of which I was the only woman on the board of my Astra satellite company, was so attractive that all of the other men board members said, well, yes, let's go ahead and do it. And I did not know what to do. So Viviane, I did exactly what you did. I went to the press, and they published it. And long story very short, I passed a couple of days that were not so happy, but at the end of the day, we were forced to take away their offer, and we were allowed to keep Astra satellite open and free for everybody. And 10 years later, when I was talking with my friends at the Mobile World Association, and they were, quite frankly, Viviane, they were vilifying you. They were saying, how can this woman do what she was going to do? And I said, let me tell you, I know her. She is fighting for the citizens of Europe. And Viviane, please tell that story.
Yeah, that was again about monopolies. I don't like them. I really think that monopolies are breaking down the creativity. They break down the possibility of citizens to develop freely. And sometimes they make our pockets empty. That is what the big telecoms did when we had these wonderful small mobile phones in our hands, finally, which were wonderful as long as you stayed in a country. But when you crossed the border, the roaming charges were abhorrent. And I am somebody who likes to have an open Europe without borders where people can move freely. So like in Middle Ages, you forced them to pay with their mobile phones when they were crossing a border. I said, no way. And I broke this monopoly. Yes, that was easily said now. Huh? But can you imagine all the big telecoms with their enormous lobbying power against me? In the end, I won. Why did I win? Because all the journalists who were traveling cross-border were upset. So they simply helped me in order to break that monopoly. And in the end, you know, I heard stories about hundreds of thousands of people are going to lose their jobs because companies are going to break down. You know what happened? Hundreds of thousands of people got a new job because companies developed. You just break down monopolies, you open, and we are so much better. Will be the same for women?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you know, and I think this is important, and certainly with Viviane, I see this all of the time. It's not the breaking of the monopoly that she's trying to do. She's trying to build real value and real systems and to have communication between people. And she is the biggest supporter, not only of women, but of Europe in the world. And I think when as an American, Viviane, when I think of Europe, I think of culture. And, you know, here again, you've just done such amazing things with culture. And if you can share a little bit about what you've done.
Yeah, because the infrastructure, the tubes, are one thing, but this is cold. This is technical. What are they there for? They are there for people to communicate, or they are there for people to enjoy the cultural beauties of Europe. And that is why I started as a commissioner the digitizing of Europe's art, the content of our museums, our music, our books, and created Europeana, the European library, with every cultural goods on board. So, and I didn't know that in the same time, and we hadn't spoken about this, she was doing the same thing with her satellites.
Absolutely. You know, when you digitize art, you have bits, but then they can be very heavy. And so you need to have a very good pipe to be able to distribute all of this rich content that, of course, Viviane was creating with Europeana. And, you know, but here we were, again, doing things, what I like to call the social contract, where the government and the public puts a platform, sets policies, and inspires, and then entrepreneurs are there, you know, doing. But I think also, Viviane, I think you at the same time that you were digitizing all of our archives here in Europe, you were also revitalizing the European film industry.
Yes, because when I took over some 13 years ago, the film market in Europe was very black, and they had no courage. They thought they would never do it. And I just told them, you are great. And you make so good films. The only problem is your marketing. You don't bring out these films. We have to bring out these films. So I helped through Europe to get the films seen outside their small market. And I got something where I'm still proud about today. I got filmmakers to be proud again about their filmmaking. And you see, that is also like in life. When you are depressed and sitting in a corner and say, oh, I don't know to do it and what problems, you will not come out of the problem. But if you go there and say, yes, now I go for it, well, your chances to really do it are very big. And that is what happened with our film industry. Still is not comparable with Hollywood, doesn't matter. But we get the prizes, we get the good films in our cinemas, and we get the young people to go to film seeing again. I think that's wonderful, because that is what we Europeans are, our creators, our content, our diversity. I'm proud to be European, you know.
You know, Viviane, here again, when we were preparing this discussion and this dialogue, I said, oh my gosh. When we first started Astra, and you know, I as an American, but being a singer, so loving German lieder and French melody and having a wonderful Luxembourgish husband, I wanted to have the Astra satellite to be able to empower Europeans to share each other's content and culture. And that was really the idea behind starting the European satellite Astra, that each country would be able to have a true exchange of theirs. And the Prime Minister of Luxembourg at the time, because Astra is started in Luxembourg, where Viviane comes from, he said to me, he said, you know, Candace, my dream is not only to have an exchange of content between all of the European countries, but that one day we will bring our content to the United States. And that vision was actually the vision that made me say that Astra had to go global. And so what you see here is, again, without knowing it, me being a telecoms person, trying to put together a platform that would help bring all of the movies and the rich, wonderful television culture of Europe to the United States and to have a real exchange. So,
Candace, yeah. It is always starting from a dream. I think you must know where you would like to arrive, and even if it is not possible that you arrive there, start going there. And the possibility that you will arrive is much higher than when you stop there saying it's not possible. What you have done in order to open the world with satellites, well, you know that The Economist called her the Sattel Lady. You, as a Sattel Lady, have broken the boundaries. And me, as a politician, I try to break the boundaries here in Europe so that we can be free and that we can enjoy and go wherever we want and take up all this cultural diversity wherever we are and share it with others. That is the vision, but that is not only a vision which you write in books, that's a vision which you put in practice. And the Sattel Lady has done it. I'm so proud to be your friend.
I am honored. You know, getting together as friends, and now comes the good part. We decided to do something together. So when Viviane came, and if I may share, you know, she came to my house and we were sitting there talking, and she said, well, Candace, you know, what do you think about quotas? And I said, well, I don't like quotas. And, you know, quite frankly, I shouldn't have said that, because I'll show you, I'll show you this So this was 25 years ago. We were in Kourou. We were launching the first Astra satellite. There is the Grand Duke of Luxembourg. There's the Prime Minister of Luxembourg. There are all of the board members of the Astra satellite. And there is one woman. This was something wrong with this picture. And so when I saw that Viviane was willing to go and again break monopolies, but not break monopolies for breaking monopolies, but to bring a richer, more diverse world and corporate governance into place, I went and I told all of my friends, my global telecom women's networks, everybody, the business schools, I said, look, here is this woman. She's out there fighting for all of us. We have to make certain and support her in this initiative because it is going to help all of us. And that is why I am so very proud that all of the women, not only here, but really throughout Europe, and Viviane, it has now become a truly global initiative. The women in the United States, in China, in South America, Australia, they are all here to support and to thank you for leading once again, and we will not disappoint you.
7,500 names come from her initiative. 7,500 women, top level, board ready. That's how friendship works, that's how networking works, and that's how good ideas with a lot of energy will be put into practice. Thanks all for helping.
Bravo, bravo!
Thank you so much.